Back to the daily grind, and y'all know we gotta talk about this. But before we do, make sure you hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
John Lineker versus Brian Kelleher has been added to UFC 224 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and as we expected, the card continues to get more and more stacked. I mean, when the UFC goes to Brazil, even if it's just a Fox Sports 1 fight night card, the card's usually like, damn, there's some serious talent on this card. There's some seriously talented Brazilian fighters, and so when they go to Brazil, they usually put a lot of them, the top ranked guys that are from Brazil on these cards, or girls. And John Lineker is now added to the card. We know the headliner is going to be Amanda Nunes versus Raquel Pennington. We've got Vitor Belfort versus Lyoto Machida on that card. I believe Paulo Costa versus Uriah Hall. Kelvin Gastelum versus Jacare Souza. Now John Lineker versus Brian Kelleher. Card is getting more and more stacked. UFC 224 I'm starting to like. And I'm sure there's going to be another or one or two more marquee fights added to that card that make you go, damn, UFC 224 is pretty cold. So with that being said, Brian Kelleher is on a 2-fight winning streak. If you remember, after his most recent win, which was over Renan Barão, he called out John Lineker, and it looks like he's getting what he asked for. John Lineker, he's 7-1 in his last 8 fights. His only loss coming to TJ Dillashaw. When he fought that fight, though, he did get his jaw broken, I believe, by TJ Dillashaw, so he came back and fought somewhat of a tune-up fight versus Marlon Chito Vera, because John Lineker was still ranked in the top 5 of the division, and Marlon Chito Vera was unranked, and they fought. John Lineker won the fight, and now he's after getting his feet wet, he's coming back versus Brian Kelleher, who not only called him out, but is on a 2-fight winning streak himself. Now, before that 2-fight winning streak, Brian Kelleher lost to Marlon Chito Vera, but it was a first-round submission, which means, he could have just got caught. Doesn't mean MMA math. Oh, well, John Lineker beat Marlon Chito Vera, and Brian Kelleher lost to Brian. That's not why John Lineker's probably going to win this fight. If John Lineker wins this fight, it'll be because he's been fighting the best guys in the world. You know what I'm saying? He's been a top 5 bantamweight. He had one minor setback to TJ Dillashaw, but he's been active. He's been fighting in the UFC. John Lineker, I believe, fought 4 times in 2016, 3 times in 2015, and he's been fighting high-level guys all in the UFC, moving all the way up the ladder. He had a split decision versus John Dodson, which was a little bit arguable, but if you give it to John Lineker, then he's 7-1 in his last 8 fights. But either way, 6-2, 7-1, John Lineker, hands of stone, is going to be a tough matchup for Brian Kelleher. Brian Boom Kelleher, who's 3-1 in the UFC. He's only got 4 UFC fights under his belt, but hey, he called for this fight, so it could be a case of be careful what you wish for, or it could be a case of calling your shots and it paying off. We'll see what happens, but John Lineker versus Brian Kelleher has been added to UFC 224 in Brazil. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
Da 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 da! It's the motherfucking DOG.